Welcome back to Oneness. Today it is day 74 and we will be looking at verse 74 from Taoteching. As usual, let's observe a few seconds of silence. Alright, so now let's get started. So the verse 74 begins like this. If people are not afraid to die, it is no avail to threaten them with death. So in the first two lines, what Laotzu talking about is a fear of death. We know that the fear of death is the most common fear most people have. So that way they constantly worry about the death, so they forget to live each moment of their life. So the people who let go of the fear of death, what else can threaten them? Think about it for a moment. So when we let go of the fear of death, and if we consider death is nothing but returning to the source or becoming one with everything in the whole of cosmos, then we don't have to fear death. It is a way of we visited the earth and then we are going back to the source. And when we don't fear death, then we allow ourselves to live each moment with a joy and an awe, with enjoying the nature and be one with other beings. And that's how I see the first two lines. Then Laotzu goes on to say, if people live in constant fear of dying, and if breaking the law means that someone will be killed, who will dare to break the law? So these three lines, primarily Laotzu talks about a ruler who enforces death as a punishment if someone does any crime. So that even in the modern age, we see it as a capital punishment. Though the punishment exists, some people who still commit crimes which are not acceptable. So I'm not sure, is it like, they don't fear the death and that's why they commit? I'm not sure how to interpret these lines or why or what mentality the people who commits crime they will have. However, how I see is no one should take other person's life. Whatever the crime or the punishment, if someone commits as well, instead of threatening them with the death as a punishment and then asking them to stay away from it, instead give some other punishment. That's why people also fight against capital punishment as a punishment itself. So I also support that, because human beings, we don't have any rights to take other beings' life. Then Laotzu goes on to say, there is always an official executioner. So what I understand from the other translation is, the official executioner is, it is someone who is in control of life and death. So which we can see it as the life and death is a very natural thing to happen. Instead of we interfering with life or the death, instead we should allow it to happen in a natural way. So this reminds me of one example that I encountered long ago. So once when I was swimming in a swimming pool, there I saw a bee that has fallen inside the swimming pool and then struggling for its life. So what I did was I carefully took the bee out of the swimming pool and then dropped it out. And I let go of the bee to walk by its own self and then go out of it. However, what happened later was, after I finished my swimming and then when I was about to leave the swimming pool, that's when I realized that I stamped the bee and actually I killed the bee. So that thought was there in my mind for a very long time. I was just thinking, though my intention was to save the bee and then I actually helped it, and in the process I ended up killing the bee as well. So that way I didn't really understood what happened. So when I read this line, I see that the death, we don't know how it comes, in what means it comes. However, the death comes in its own natural way. No one has a control over it. Just that we shouldn't be the official executioner. We shouldn't be taking ourselves a pride of killing some beings. So that is the only thing we can take control of. So that way, allow life to be natural. Then Laotzu goes on to say, if you try to take his place, it is like trying to be a master carpenter cutting wood. If you try to cut wood like a master carpenter, you will only hurt your hand. So what Laotzu says is, if we try to take the responsibility or are in charge of killing something, it can be an insect, then we also in the process will get hurt. So there is a saying, a person who carries a weapon, the same person who will meet death by weapon. So that way, instead of forcing death to the other being, stay away from it. Let nature take care of life and death. So that's how I see this verse. So to summarize this whole verse, the first thing is let go of fear of death. When I say let go of fear of death, think of death as a state which you detach from the body, you let go of your body and then return to the source. So that way there is nothing to fear from death. And then don't take the job or don't take an in charge of killing other being, or even it can be like, the violence that you can show to the other being as a way of punishment or a revenge. Don't show that. Let nature take care of its own cycle. So that's how I see the verse 74, and with that we come to an end of verse 74. So one actionable thought for today is, since we are talking about death and returning to the source, we can do one small quick exercise. So the exercise is, when you are in the shower, especially if you have an overhead shower, which is the water falling over the head, close your eyes and close your ears completely. Just imagine you're floating out of the body. You're floating in the universe. You're one with the cosmos. You're seeing all the observable cosmos around you. So that way you're no more attached to the body, and let go of the body and imagine you're returning to the source. So how I used to do is, I close my ears and my eyes, and with the sound of the water, it makes me feel that I'm actually floating in the space. And that way there is no more attachment to the body, and instead I become one with the darkness and one with the nature and one with everything. And that's something I relate as returning to the source. Try it out. This is a kind of meditative state in itself which you may enjoy. Try this and let me know how you feel. With that thought, let's conclude verse 74 and talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.